Hello, my name is Arlen Crawford, and today I want to talk to you about purchasing resumes. Now, when you're purchasing a resume, the first thing you're going to figure out is that it's a lot easier than putting one together. I can tell you that from personal experience. And so the next thing that's going to cross your mind is, where do you start when it comes to purchasing one of these things? Well, if you Google the term resume service, you're going to be swamped with companies that write resumes. There are a ton of them out there. Doesn't mean they're all good, doesn't mean they're all bad. Basically, what it means is that you're going to have to start contacting some of these companies to find out if they're going to be good for you. There is a chemistry to writing resumes, and you need to find out which company can probably do yours the best based on what you're finding. Now, the considerations are going to be, how do you qualify these companies? How do you figure out which ones are good? How do you figure out which ones are bad? You're going to want to talk about price, because the price is all over the board. I can tell you that. I've seen them anywhere from $40 to almost $700. You're also going to want to talk about who's going to write your resume, simply because you don't want to leave that to any Tom, Dick, or Harry out there. You just want to basically have somebody that's competent when it comes to writing your resume. You're also going to know how it's going to look. You want have them look at, have them give you some samples of resumes they've written, so you can see exactly what the style will look like, that type of thing. And of course, you want to know if it's going to accomplish for you what you need it to. And what you need it to accomplish for you is to get you phone screens and interviews. Now, you probably know the resume itself does not get you the job. You have to do that. But if it's written properly, it's going to get you some phone screens and some interviews. And that's if you take it and you apply for the right types of jobs. Now, when we talk about price, the thing about price is they're all over the boards. I just recently did an internet search and found anywhere from $40 to about $700 on the price. And you're asking yourself, well, why is there such a volatility in pricing? Why is it all over the board like that? And the reason why is because a lot of places charge you by your vocation. So that means if you're a doctor or a lawyer or a brain surgeon, rocket scientist, they feel like you're making more money, they can charge you more. However, it's not necessarily a good thing. That you get penalized based on how high you are up the corporate ladder a lot of times. You don't necessarily think of it in that terms, but that's what happens when it comes to certain types of pricing. Now, if you're an intern, a clerk, or a janitor, the price probably isn't going to be nearly as high. Of course, it might be high to you, but it's still not necessarily as high as it can be. And of course, if you're a C-level executive, Chief Human Resources Officer, CEO, COO, Chief Information Technology Officer, most of the time you're probably going to pay through the nose. Now, that's not necessarily to say that it's fair. It's just kind of like the way it is. However, you're going to find that purchasing resumes doesn't have to be that difficult if you do your due diligence. And what you need to do is find a price that seems fair to you and figure out exactly what you will pay. And that way, if you figure out you're going to pay $200 or $300, that's what you're counting on paying. And so that'll seem fair to you. But remember this, you usually get what you pay for. And that is important. That doesn't mean that if you pay $40 for a resume, it's going to stink, and that doesn't mean if you pay $600 or $700 a resume, it's going to be the greatest document you ever read. But nonetheless, you usually get what you pay for. Keep that in mind. Now, the next thing you want to look at is your resume writer. Who's going to write your resume? You don't want just some Tom, Dick, and Harry that's doing it as a hobby to write your resume, and that goes to their experience. What is their experience writing resumes? How many of them have they done? Ask them about what they've done in their career as far as writing resumes go. And don't be afraid to ask them how many people they've helped find gainful employment. Can they give you names of people? The reason you want names is because you want to check them out. I'd call a couple of them up and say, hey, did John Doe over here write your resume, and did he help you get employment? Check them out. The reason I would do that is you're entitled to a reference on your writer to figure out what their level of success is before you pay. And that's really, really important. Now, as the other thing you're going to see is your resume, as your writer, a certified resume writer. And what does that mean? Well, you're going to find a lot of writers that are certified, and that's not a bad thing. But what that really means is that they've been approved by some governing body to write a resume. That's all it means. And basically, if certifications were based on how many jobs have been directly procured for their clients, then that would be a value. If your resume writer went out and actively got you a job, that would definitely be a value because you know that the writer was doing what he knew to do. Now, your object should be a writer who has actual recruiting experience finding people jobs and therefore writes recruiting from a recruiting perspective because they know what other recruiters want to see, corporate recruiters, executive search recruiters. So anytime you can find a resume writer that's got a recruiting perspective, that's really what you want to go for. And you also want to look for readability and accomplishment. And you want your resume to have a built-in readability. What that means is easy to read. In order to accomplish the purpose, and that purpose is to get your phone screens and hopefully actual interviews. If your document does not accomplish that, then you've wasted time and money purchasing resumes, and you're going to have to start all over. So what I would do is I'd definitely check them out and make sure you find a reputable one. Make sure you find one that's been doing it for a while. And good luck. Thank you.